Are you who you're supposed to be? I really want you to think about that. Are you really what God created you to be? Do you think you're supposed to be somebody else other than you are? I think perhaps maybe we are all supposed to be somebody else than what we are. Over the last couple of years, you've heard me consistently say this, that we need to seek who God created us to be. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. God knew everything that He had planned about you, your height, your tone or color, your gender, your humor, your intelligence. Think about it. God specifically created everything about you. Even God gave you specific gifts and talents that you and I are supposed to develop and everything else. And so God created you for something specific. But the question is, why do we have a planet full of people trying to figure out what their purpose is? We have jobs, and let's face it, most people don't even like their job. Are you really who you think God created you to be? It's one of those things I think we all struggle with at times. Even Rick Warren at the mega church, Saddleback Church, wrote this book, A Purpose-Driven Life, but most of us don't even know what our purpose is. This is the reason why people kill themselves. This is why people dive into alcoholism and drugs and drown out their lives and maybe in relationships. And the list goes on and on and on. And I think there's something churning in our bodies that make us restless. And we walk around our whole lives feeling like we're just not there and we're just not enough. And we do, and so many people say, is this it? Is this my lot for life? Is this really what I'm here for? I wonder maybe if God created you and I to be something else other than we are, and we don't know it. Almost like the movie The Matrix. I don't know if you guys ever watch it. I love The Matrix. It is the gospel put in a sci-fi action kind of movie. But I do. So many times I feel like we live in the Matrix. And we go throughout life and we're meandering around and we're thinking this, but there's a whole nother life that we don't know about. And I'm wondering if you and I are living this life right here, but the one God really created for us is right here. And we have no idea what our creation story is really supposed to be. Here's what I want you to know today. The closer you draw to Christ, the more your creation story may begin to develop. I think this world changes us from birth. Hey, you can meet me in Genesis chapter 3, verse 11 here in just a minute. It's an interesting thing in life. By the way, there's this picture behind me. Can we go back to that? It's called the Tetragrammaton. It's Hebrew. And it goes from right to left. And I tried to find a laser pointer so I could point out some stuff. But apparently you guys have all been shining them at airplanes and I can't get one anymore. But it's really made up of 4 consonants. But we have these little squiggly lines underneath. Those are the vowels. And what that says is who God is of the Old Testament. It is Yahweh. Now you have to understand, in Old Testament times, the name of God was so sacred, nobody would even utter the name God, because we're all unworthy to even speak His name, and yet in 2026, we have no problem saying His name and other things. I wonder sometimes if we forgot about the sacredness of God. But what's interesting about this, we say it Yahweh. I want to tell you how it's really said. Aaron, can I get this unmuted? Because I'm going to need this mic for you to understand. This Yahweh is pronounced in a way of air, the Spirit of God. We say it in terms of just English or Hebrew or whatever, but if we actually take it to the point in which the Hebrew people would say it, it sounds more like this. It's interesting. The very first breath of our life and the last breath of our life, we say God. When a baby's first breath, and I don't know how many people I've been at their bedside as they pass away. God is the breath of life for you and I. And so this means something. And so I want you to remember the Tetragrammaton. You learned a little Hebrew today, so you'll all be much better nerds. Let me set that down for a minute. But in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth, and he created everything, and including you and I, and he said, that's good. But we look around our world today, and are we really that good? Crime and violence and murders and death and cancer, anger, fistfights, wars, and the list goes on, and insecurities, and we don't like who we are, we don't like the way we look, and we're afraid everybody's judging us, and the list goes, it's just a lot. But where did it start? Where did all this nonsense come from? And it really comes from Adam and Eve. I don't want to blame them for everything, but I'm going to blame them for everything. Listen, if they had not sinned, I, myself, and Moses would have a full head of hair. Listen, you're not going to recognize me when we get to heaven. It's going to be a big fro. You're going to struggle to realize who I am. I'll be unrecognizable. Listen, it's a good thing I don't have hair. I would be crazy with hair these days. But I want you to grab the gist of this, what sin has done to our world. It's changed everything. Matter of fact, you may not know this, but I want you to hear me. If you don't hear anything else today, I want you to hear this part. Do you realize the Bible was only supposed to be that thick? That's it. And now look at it. It was only supposed to tell us about our creation story. That's all. And then sin into the world. And more sin, and more hate, and more hurt, more deception. The Bible was only supposed to be that big. Adam and Eve are in the garden, and Satan's really tricky, isn't he? God tells Adam, but Satan goes to Eve. And we love to blame Eve, but the truth of it is, it's really not Eve's fault. Because Satan asked Eve, did God really say that? But she doesn't know. She wasn't there. All she knows is her husband, she had an arranged marriage with, told her not to. And let's be honest, if you're married, sometimes we struggle to listen to our spouses, right? But after they ate of the fruit, and again, I want to clarify something, these demonic conspiracy theories. It's never said it was an apple, just so you know. It just says fruit. Could have been a pear, right? Who knows? Or a banana. But after that, Adam and Eve's view of themselves get distorted. Like scales fell from their eyes, and they realized they weren't God. Eve was told, if you eat this, you'll be like God. And we all want to be like God, don't we? We all want to have perfect lives. We all want to know everything. We all want to control everything. I mean, really, at the gist of it, when we look at our core, we all want to be God. So you can't blame Eve, because Adam was the one who knew, and yet Adam didn't stop her, and Adam ate it too. And so the distorted view of the creation story of Adam and Eve really gets messed up. And they are so smart, they think they can hide from God. And in Genesis 3:11, God is walking through the garden, and he comes across, he goes, where are you? He knew, he's God. We were hiding because we were naked. This next line is so important. Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from? You did the worst thing. Who told you were naked? And you've heard me say this before. All of a sudden, Adam and Eve were not living their creation story. And the truth of it is, are you living your creation story? Who told you you were fat? Who told you were stupid? Who told you couldn't sing? Who told you were the wrong this and the wrong that, and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that? And all these things that is ingrained in us from children continues to change our creation story. How many people on the worship team, I could ask, told throughout their lives, when was the first time you were told you couldn't sing? Almost all of them would tell you elementary school. I wonder how many great inventors of our lives would be just most magnificent people if they weren't told when they were little, you're stupid. Or you'll never amount to anything. And all this is constantly spoken over us, and we begin to believe it from our infancy. We're taking shots now to lose weight. We're putting on extra makeup. I color my beard because it looks really kind of white trash with some of the gray in it, right? I got to look, and we do all these things because who we are naturally is not enough. Because ever since we were a kid, especially when you hit middle school, it's even rougher. You're told you're stupid, you're ugly, you're not going to be this, and the list goes on and on and on, and it goes back to Genesis chapter 3. Who told you that? It wasn't God. God would never tell you you're ugly. You were beautifully fashioned in your mother's womb. Who told you you were stupid? Your God is the God of creation who created the mountains and the skies and the moons and the stars. He created everything. If you're the child of God, how are you stupid? You're not, but we begin to believe that we're not smart because people have told us. And you know what happens when people tell you something negative about yourself? You begin to repeat it your whole life. And so we don't dare reach for the stars. We don't try to do the extra because somebody has told us we're not. Do you really think you are what God created you to be? Or are you and I the result of what society has made us? We have so many people living with depression and insecurity. People are afraid to sing or dance in the rain. It really doesn't rain here enough for us to dance in the rain. But think about it. What has stopped you from living a joyous, happy life? We get embarrassed. I get embarrassed so easy. I have no problem coming up here talking about Jesus and God, but if I was to stand up here and talk about myself personally, my hands are going to go in my pocket, and I'm probably going to be doing this because I don't really like talking much about myself. The world has changed us. And maybe with that acknowledgement, maybe we could start looking to be who God created us to be in our creation story. Matter of fact, you want to talk about coding in the Bible? This is a very interesting. By the way, the Tetragrammaton, can we put that up? Okay, so this is Yahweh. Also, Yahweh. Oh, you got to leave it on. Yahweh. That's the proper name to say it. And so with this, the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh, but do you know what it means? I am. That's actually, you know, I was at the Southeast Asian/Cambodian service the other day, and it was great. And they started talking about how people's names mean something. Even Pastor Nong's like, why did my parents name me a girl's name? I figure he's going to figure that out with his parents. But names mean something, right? Do you know what your name means? Search it out. I think we need to be intentional about stuff. But Yahweh, what it really means is I am. I am. Put anything behind it, and that's God. I am the mountains. I am the stars. I am the sunrise and the sunset. I am the moon and the mountains. I am. Everything that follows after that is God. And ever since Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, and again, we don't know what the fruit is. We have suffered horribly with our identity and who we are, and also our ability to even do simple things. How many times you told yourself, I can't do that? Or someone else told you, you can't do that. I grew up so insecure, beat down. Now I spend my whole life proving to you I can do what people say I can't. And I think there's others of us who are like that. You want to see me do something? Tell me I can't do it. I will kill myself to prove to you I can. Moses deals with the same problem. Here Moses is, God has been involved. If you don't know who Moses is an Egyptian child, not an Egyptian child, a Hebrew child living in Egypt in slavery. And the Egyptians decided to kill all the young boys, and his mom puts him in a basket trying to rescue him. Next thing you know, he's raised in Pharaoh's house, the person who's trying to kill him. And he's raised with the best of the best. One day he realizes he's a Hebrew, life falls apart and everything else, but he actually lived a privileged life. Until one day he comes across a burning bush. But the bush itself wasn't burning. And all of a sudden, somebody begins to talk to him and says, I want you to accomplish something that this world has never seen. Could you imagine God telling you that? I want you to accomplish something no one has ever done. No one could have fathomed. I want you to free the Hebrew people out of slavery. I want you to bring them into the land of milk and honey. You can do it. Would you believe that? Most of them would be like, you got the wrong guy. I'm just Brad. I can't do that. And that's what Moses does. And again, when we look at coding, we just read Genesis 3:11. Now let's go to Exodus 3:11. And it says this. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring these Israelites out of Egypt? You remember that tetragrammaton? I am. Moses answers, am I? It's a reversal of the statement because we no longer feel like children of God. God is I am, but Moses is like, am I? There's a reversing of it, and you and I have to realize so many times we are doing the absolute opposite of our creation story, the absolute opposite of what God has created you and I to do, because we live in fear. We're scared to reach out. Even when somebody like God sets a bush on fire, we still can't believe that someone like you and me could do something amazing that God calls us to do and to be. And Moses suffers with it. Later on, he says, well, I don't talk too well. Listen, if Moses had a speech problem, he was raised in Pharaoh's house, he would have had the best speech therapist on the planet. Amen? But he didn't believe in himself. And the thing that surprises all of us is maybe you don't believe in yourself either. I am. Am I? Am I able to do this? Am I able to accomplish? Am I able to graduate? Am I able to make it through this? Am I able to actually live a life of joy and happiness? Am I able to actually find love again? Think about all the things that you and I suffer with. It was never God's intention. It never was. It's what the world has done to us. And I want to challenge you as your days and your weeks and your months go by. And you always hear me talk about, there's so many times you and I act like we got it together until we lay in our beds and the lights are out. And even if somebody's laying beside you, isn't that when Satan really starts to get us? To tell us that we're not. You can't do it. You messed up. You talked too much. You failed too much. You're never going to get past this and all of these issues. When you're facing that and you're laying there in bed, I just want you to remember one thing. Breathe. Just breathe. If I've counseled you over the loss of a loved one, I always say, I just want you to concentrate on breathing today. Sometimes just breathing feels impossible in a storm. We feel suffocated. Sometimes maybe the best thing you and I can do is just remember to breathe and breathe the name of God. From your very first breath as a baby to the last breath as you leave this earth. And to realize that he's also in every breath in between. Jesus said, I will never leave you nor forsaken you. We've all been through some of these problems. We've all suffered. And when we recognize he won't leave us, and if we could just concentrate on breathing, and taking that breath in and to recognize he's still there. That we've lost so much of our identity and people around us, but if we could just begin to recognize that he is there. But I also want you to recognize that if God has called you to do something, as you draw closer to God and you feel him calling you to do something magnificent like Moses, I want you to claim it. I want you to understand that you can do it, because Jesus says this, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God's not going to call you to do something he's not accomplished or already put within you. The problem between you and I doing what we want to do and what God calls us to do is right here. Because we're more apt to listen to the negativity we've heard our whole lives instead of that quiet voice saying, I am. Moses, I'm not. I am. I can't accomplish this. I can. I'm never going to get through this. I am. I can't do what you're asking me to do. I am. I can't forgive them. Do you know what they did? I am. There really is a battle in our spirits, our hearts, our minds, and our consciousness, struggling between the sacred and the secular. And we have so listened to the secular that we forget to listen to God. And if God is calling you to do something, you and I have to start to hold on to it. And remember, if God is calling us to do it, he'll see us through it. Yeah, you're right. You probably can't accomplish something amazing on your own. It will take God with you. And he will not leave you nor forsake you. In this world, so many people are, Jesus never claimed to be God. I find that to be such an ignorant statement when I hear people say that. Until you look, and Jesus says in John 6, I am the bread of life. In John 8, I am the light of the world. In John 10, I am the door to the sheep. In John 11, I am the resurrection and the life. And in John 14, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And in John 15, I am the true vine. Jesus is always admitting he is God in the flesh. And if Jesus is God in the flesh and he came to die for you and I to help bridge us back to our creation story, what is stopping you and I? Which goes back to the question, are you actually living what you think God created you to be, or are you just living? or what I call meandering through life, just trying to get by, another day at work, another day at home, another day paying the bills. Do you think really God created you and I to just get by? God has done some absolutely amazing things. And as I said, the Bible is only supposed to be this thick. And sin made it that thick. But as I read through all these other pages, I read about people like you and I who did amazing things when everything was falling apart. And you've heard me say before, I believe in heaven. The pages of the Bible are still being written, and they're being written about you when you decide to step up and step out and live the life that God called you to do, to be bold. I think about Daniel in the lion's den. Everybody's got faith till you face a lion. But he went boldly into the den, and maybe today you may be facing a lion den. I want to remind you, he's there with you. And 3 young men in a fiery furnace, but there was a 4th man. He is the great I am. And he'll go with you and he'll be with you. Here's what I want you to leave with today. God has bigger plans for you than you could ever imagine. And you're never going to discover it until you passionately chase after God and his desire in your life. You may not fully understand the greatness that was developed in you because you've let the world tell you something different than what you are. But as you lay down your head tonight, as you are going through your head and asking yourself, can you do things? Chris, can you turn that on? Oh, there it goes, sorry. Every time Satan begins to speak to you, until your marriage is over, your kids are a mess, you're going to lose your job, you can't pay your bills, and the list goes on, and all this negativity we all go to, just remember to breathe. Just breathe. Would you close your eyes with me?